Hello there, children. I'm so glad you came to visit me in my home today. Now, you may know Teacher Alex, and she invited me to come here today. And I know we look like sisters, but really she's my granddaughter, all right? So don't confuse us. We're not the same person. But she invited me here today to tell you some stories. And so I'm so glad you're here. I'm so excited to tell you stories. I'm missing one special guest here who is always here for my stories, and it's oh yes, this is my cat Lunette. Oh yes, she's so cute, and she always comes and she sits and listens to the stories along with you. So she's gonna sit here like a little blanket on my lap while I tell you today's story. So why don't we sit and cozy up, and I can tell you some stories, and we'll call it what should we call it, Lunette? Let's call it Storytime with Nana Alex. Alright, well, what story did I want to tell you today? Well, I'll tell you, when I was a young child, just like yourselves, I really loved going to parties. I loved all the, the Christmas parties that we just had and the New Year's festivities. I really loved going to all these parties and celebrating with all my friends. But there was a time when I had to move to a new school. And if you've ever done that, you know how that feels. It can be very difficult to go meet new people. And I still remember how I felt. I was lonely a lot of the time. And sometimes kids would have parties and I wouldn't get invited. I know. It was a little bit sad. I still think about how I felt. But then I read a story. I read a story in the Bible where Jesus says something very surprising about parties. He says, it's easy to invite all your best friends to a party, and that's really fun. But imagine if you were someone who didn't get invited. Well, that would feel very crummy, wouldn't it? And Jesus has something special to say to the person who feels left out. He says, guess what? In my kingdom, I would invite you to my party every single time. Well, you know how that made me feel. That made me feel so wonderful inside. So what's the point of this story? I know I go off the rails sometimes, but just to let you know that if we are ever feeling left out, or if you ever see someone who's feeling left out, well, Jesus wants to welcome that person in, and he wants us to welcome others. He wants us to show kindness to each other, just like we want people to show kindness to us. And that's a pretty special thing. Is it time for you to eat, Lunette? Oh, well, I need to take Lunette to get her little kitty snacks, so I will have to go now. It's been such a delight having you. Please, I would love to have you join me again for Storytime with Nana Alex.